Hello, and welcome to another episode of the STEM Confidence Podcast. In today's episode, we are going to talk about storytelling and how you can apply it in your scientific work, especially when writing a paper or preparing your next conference presentation. I've been talking about storytelling in this podcast on several occasions, but I want to do a quick summary of why I believe it is important. First of all, let me introduce you to the concept of storytelling. Storytelling is exactly what the word says. It is basically a technique of telling a story. And when applied to data, it is called data storytelling. In its essence, this is a technique in which you tell your data and your research as if it were a story. This means that there is some context, some conflict, and some resolution that is being explained. And by explaining your data this way, you create what I like to call the arc of the narrative that has a well-defined beginning, middle, and end. When it comes to data storytelling, today I want to talk about how can you use it in your favor whenever you have to talk about your research. So, how can we apply data storytelling techniques when creating a narrative around our science? First of all, there are many advantages of data storytelling, but the first one, and maybe even the most important one, is better engagement. People tend to talk more about what they understand, and our goal is to make our research as understandable as possible. Essentially, your main job is to make people listen to you, and you are much more likely to achieve this if you actually talk about your research in a way that sparks interest and makes the audience want more. Alright, but how can you do so? First of all, by being clear. Have in mind the people who are listening to you. Are they experts in the field or are they new to the topic? My suggestion is to always keep the jargon away. Basically, since it can feel intimidating to the non expert members of the audience. If you are unsure about what you should include in your story, ask yourself the following question: does this help my audience understand me better? If the answer is yes, keep it. If the answer is no, remove it. The second point is making your data relatable. Data storytelling is more than just presenting numbers and figures. It is about humanizing your data and making it relatable to your audience. Instead of just drowning readers or your audience in a sea of statistics and endless numbers, use storytelling techniques to give context to your findings. One good example of doing so is to share anecdotes or case studies that have some real-world implication of your research. This allows you to paint a very vivid picture of the significance of your work. And by connecting your data to human experiences, you establish a much deeper connection with your audience. You are essentially driving home the importance of your work in a way that resonates to them on a personal level. And people are much more likely to pay attention to something that they can relate to than to some vague numbers. The third advantage of data storytelling is that it allows you to create a narrative around your data. Just like any good story, a successful data narrative requires very careful planning and I would say even some touch of craftsmanship. In general, it is a good idea to start by identifying the key elements of your research that lend themselves to storytelling. This could be maybe an unexpected discovery, an interesting experiment, or a transformative breakthrough. And once you introduce the context, consider the best way to structure your narrative to maximize its impact. To do so, you can use many approaches. You can use, for example, a chronological approach, which basically includes tracing the evolution of your research over time, or perhaps a thematic approach that focuses more on the most important themes or patterns present within your data. Whatever approach you choose, remember to keep your audience in mind and tailor your narrative to their interests and needs. In summary, data storytelling offers a powerful tool for communicating your research in an easy and effective way. It helps you foster engagement and relatability, and essentially, it helps you construct a coherent narrative. I honestly believe that by embracing storytelling techniques, you can elevate the impact of your scientific work and make your audience really care about your research, which is kind of the entire point of your presentation. I hope this episode convinced you that you should use data storytelling when explaining your science. Thank you for listening, and until next time. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you are ready to elevate your communication skills and transform your data into valuable insights, schedule a free discovery call on the link in the description.